Right now, this is the only mic that's live. And somebody better show me how to let them speak.
Thank you. You want them to speak all the time? Do I do that? I can set it that way.
I don't want to have to, I don't want, yeah, I'd rather do that. Thank you. Hmm?
If you just never let somebody speak.
I'm used to letting people speak all the time, so. I mean, they still got to push their button, I would think.
Turn on.
Yeah. Yeah. Y'all hear me? Okay. I can hear me. Yeah, I think I see what he's saying. There's a place here where people can raise their hands, but I pushed on one of them and it didn't do anything. So if he can, yeah, it may be just turn it on, raises your hand. I don't show, yeah, I show everybody with their hand raised. Except for seat 17. What seat are you?
9.
Okay, I'm going to push 9, and you try and talk.
Hello?
Okay.
Aha. Now it works.
I think he's got everybody now. Yeah.
Yeah, now they're red. Okay, yeah.
Got
they're
it.
good. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
It's probably still a good idea just to push them when you're going to talk, because there is a limit on how many could be on at a time, I think. All right, good deal. Well, I'll call this meeting to order. This is the Thursday, August 11th, 2022, meeting of the Board of Directors of the Boston Mountain Solid Waste District, and we'll start off with a roll call.
Mayor Doug Sprouse, Springdale.
Here.
Mayor Bruce Lefford, Elkins. Melissa McCarville, Farmington.
Here.
Judge Frank Weaver, Madison County.
Here.
Judge Joseph Wood, Washington County. Mayor Lionel Jordan, Fayetteville. Proxy Jason Davis.
Here.
Mayor Max Poy, Goshen. Councilman Travis Dotson, Huntsville.
Here.
Mayor Chris Keeney, Johnson.
Here.
Rhonda Hulse, Lincoln. Chuck Wiley, Prairie Grove. Mayor Angie Russell, Tawnytown.
Here.
Isaac Hardison, West Fork.
All right, thank you. Board, you've got the agenda before you. We need to, I would entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented if there are no changes.
Make a motion.
Okay, we have a motion to adopt.
Second.
And a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to look over the minutes. If not, I can give you a little time, but when you are ready, if we would entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented with one correction. I think we need to correct the title on the minutes, correct? Because it
Yes.
does say agenda.
Correct, yes, it needs to say meeting
Okay.
minutes.
So with that, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented with that amendment to change the title.
Make a motion. Second.
Okay, we've got a motion, a second to approve. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. All right, thank you. We're at item 5, personnel and finance. Robin?
Okay. So our balance ended on July 31st at $1,725,502. And, I'm sorry, that was the cash flow. Our balance sheet, ending balance was $4,048,518.97. And our statement of cash flow for the same time period ended at $1,725,502. $502.11. The first report is our general fund budget. I think everything's on track pretty well this year. Our income has actually been a little bit higher than estimated, which I think has been well. So far, we're at a net income of $613,000 so far this year through the end of July. Our tire fund budget is, I think, as most people have anticipated, and as we've been discussing, right now we're at negative $58,000 for the net income so far this year. We have submitted to the governor the District Directors Association has submitted to the governor for a supplemental money to help for 5 quarters, just because we're seeing an increase, as most people are, of fuel surcharges, extra fuel cost. I believe, what are we at, 136% of our budgeted fuel costs so far this year? I think we budgeted extra, we just obviously did not budget enough. And then, we're seeing increased costs at our disposal companies and stuff like that. So, and we met with the district directors last week and yesterday as well, and everybody's kind of feeling the same issue. We do have Everett Hatcher here. I'm going to put him on the spot. He's with DEQ, and he's the Waste Tire Program business plan manager. So I don't know if you have anything you'd want to add to that, or any thoughts or comments on it. Right. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of what we're hearing as well. So we are working to keep everybody apprised, and kind of current with the situation as anything changes. But tires are, we had enough in reserves where we're okay right now, but we'll see how long we can continue with this trend. So hopefully we hear something soon with that supplement. I think if we are able to get that supplement, and this is not a permanent rate increase that anybody's asking for. This is just purely a supplement to cover our fuel surcharges, additional fuel, and additional staffing costs and hauling costs that everybody's experiencing.
Everett.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the time frame on that? I mean, do you have any idea, since we've offered the supplemental?
Well, I know that the governor has, they don't call it slush fund, they call it rainy day fund, but the governor has a fund to himself. And I think we're looking at, and Robin probably knows more details than I know, but you're looking at July 1 next year, before the legislation, whatever they pass in the spring, would go into effect. So I think you're looking at, they were asking for 1.6, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's like crickets. I have not heard anything back about that.
Right.
Okay.
And we are also working, I think as Everett referenced, to kind of fix the tire bill next year. And we are working with DEQ and our consultants to make sure we're all on the same page when we take this in to the next session, because I think there's some really obvious fixes that would help benefit everybody and get these tire programs kind of back into the plus end of things. Does anybody have any questions on either of these budgets or anything before I move on?
No action on those,
Okay,
correct?
correct.
Okay.
The next item, and this is one of the extra items that I numbered it wrong. It's 5.2. It's numbered as 5.12. And this is a memo, and this is for an equipment purchase and a repair that we're needing, and this is all related to the general fund. So the first is for a horizontal baler. The district did receive almost $16,000 in recycling grants last year to go towards the purchase of a horizontal baler with automatic tie. And we've asked for an additional $100,000 this year. We don't anticipate receiving that full amount. We're kind of estimating it'll be the additional $15,000 or $16,000. But our baler is past it. It's really old and requires a lot. It needs kind of overhauled, and it's not able to bale all the material. It's also a manual tie, which is very slow and cumbersome. So we are asking for the board to authorize the purchase of a horizontal baler with auto tie. This is a 2-ram baler. The next page is, or the back of the next page is kind of a picture with explaining what it is we're looking at purchasing. It's a 2-ram baler with an automatic tie, and this one is designed to bale every type of material we handle.
Okay.
So the quote we received for this baler, and this includes the baler and installation and training and everything, is $250. It's $272,000. But what we are asking for is authorization to spend up to $257,000 out of our general fund, and if needed, our fixed asset replacement fund to purchase this baler. And we would trade in our current horizontal baler to go towards this as well. The other item expense we are asking for authorization to spend is, and I've included a picture of it on the right-hand side of the transfer station. You'll see that part of the wall is missing. This is a push wall. It keeps material from building up on the sides and stuff like that, and we push waste off of it into the trailers, semi-trailers that are down below. And it has broken off, or kind of currently have it propped up there a little bit, which is really great with pushing about 100,000 pounds off of it sometimes. So it has been really, really hard to even get a quote or anybody to come out and look at this. We've got one company in a month and a half to even look at this project. Everybody is so booked right now. It is a specialty repair. It takes somebody that has, it's not your run-of-the-mill concrete work, I should say. So it takes somebody that's very specialized, and so we're able to get one quote for it, and we will bid this and follow all the state guidelines. But the push wall repair quote is at $100,350, and the chute repair, the chute that is below that kind of works as, I'd say, helps guide the trash into the trailer so it doesn't fall down the sides. 2 of the brackets have fallen off that as well, and it needs repaired and some replacement work done to it, and the quote for that's $49,500. Most of this work that we will be able to stay in operation. Their estimated time is 4 to 6 weeks. If we were able to start it sooner than later, just because the company that we spoke to does have some opening time available. We may have to close down for 3 days while they do the chute repair, because they do have to pull the brackets out, and we can't push trash if we have a welder down there. But we would work with this, like say the city of Prairie Grove and our other haulers to make sure that they're able to continue their service if this did happen. So our total request for expenses that we're asking for is $406,850, and this would all be funds we use from the general fund and the asset replacement fund.
Okay. Any questions?
How old is the baler that we use right now?
It is, and I don't remember the year model. I believe it is it a 2001 model? Okay.
21 years.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it was purchased in 2001, and it was used when they bought it.
Oh, it was used then.
It's long surpassed its lifespan,
Yeah.
for sure. And then the next question is what's the trade-in value of that?
I'm not really sure, to be honest. I believe it's
Are you going to trade with the company that we're buying this from, potentially?
Potentially. I'll probably kind of reach out and see if kind of what the value is versus trade-in, just to see which the best way to handle it.
Do we ever auction? Would
We
this
do.
be something that would work in an auction?
It may work on an auction. Vehicles we've been putting on Gov Deals the last few years and have had really good success with that, so we may try this as well. And we may just put it out there to see what comes back.
Okay.
Does it have the same footprint?
The new baler is a little bit larger footprint, but we don't have to do any like construction work. The new baler, they're able to fit into the existing area we already have.
Just one more comment. I'm just for everybody's sake on the board. Whenever you're dealing with these balers, the auto tie is a lot safer method than we've had some accidents at the city of Fayetteville in the past before we had the auto tie. So I think it's a good idea.
Thank you.
Okay. Other comments or questions? Anyone in the room? I would, I think, what's your pleasure, board?
Make a motion to allow her for the total expenses of $406,850.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the request, and we have a second. City of
Absolutely.
Fayetteville? Yeah. So, any other comment or questions? Anyone? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Okay,
All right, thank you very much. These are both much needed, so I appreciate it. The next item is an update on our audit. Our auditors have done kind of everything on our end. They were waiting. The audit is due to DEQ September 1st, but we're waiting on one financial statement, ironically from DEQ, for the audit to be completed. Everett did call them just before the meeting to make sure, and it has been sent up to their financial person who's been out ill. So we should have that hopefully within the next week or two. Our auditors do have the draft done. They're just waiting for this final document. So if it is all right with you all, I would like to ask for an email vote or approval to do an email vote on this. So that way, I'm anticipating hopefully to get it next week. So then that way we can still meet the September 1st deadline. So.
any other questions? The audit?
Okay.
All right, thank you, Robin.
All right, thank you. All right, the next, 5.4 is our recycling grant, and this is just purely information on the different grants that are currently are open and have remaining funds available. The next item, 542, is our 2022 recycling grant applications. We did not have a quorum at this committee meeting, so this is, I think, a recommendation, but we do need your approval before we can move forward with it. So we had actually a total of 5 applications that we received. Madison County chose to withdraw their request for a roll-off truck. Just kind of looking at what the total amount requested was, and then a little over 435,000, and our estimated funds available will be around 167,000. So Madison County chose to withdraw that request. So the first item that the committee is recommending is to the city of Fayetteville, and this is for $10,000 for public space recycling containers. The next is to Boston Mountain for $33,000 for environmental education. The next is to Madison County for $123,000, and this is for compactor and roll-off containers. And then any remaining funds that are received up to $100,000 would go to Boston Mountain for a horizontal baler, if approved.
Those are the recommendations, so when you're comfortable with that, we'd entertain a motion to approve.
Make a motion.
Okay, we have a
I'll
motion.
second.
And a second. Any other discussion or questions? Anyone in the room? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. And then, of course, once we'll do our 30-day public notice, we'll let you know if we receive any comments and then what the final amounts are.
Okay.
The next item, 6.1, is a contract for service with the city of Fayetteville. We currently have, through the end of September, a contract with them for an environmental educator for their compost and waste reduction program. And they would like to keep the same educator on staff for the final quarter of the year. And then we'll come back next board meeting with, I guess, what the 2023 plan is. Jason, did you find out if there were any additional comments or anything on this?
Yeah, it's on consent, with the money allocated for the next 3 months.
Okay.
Is what we're planning, and then an additional 3 months after that, come the first of the year, just in case we have anything
Okay,
crazy. But yeah, that is on consent with the council.
great, thank you.
So,
Okay, so this is basically the same contract as we've had that is currently in standing. The adjusted amount for the fourth quarter of 2022 is $9,500. And I think that is the only change we have is the amount. So if anybody has any questions or anything.
Okay. Any questions? What's your pleasure, board?
I make a motion to approve the contract for service.
Okay, we have a motion to approve
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion or questions? Anyone? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes.
Okay, the next item is an update on our waste management lawsuit. Tom, do you have anything for that?
Did you call that in our perpetual series of litigation with?
Hey, Tom, maybe you, or this is getting recorded, maybe you ought to come up here.
Forward it again. Y'all know I do my best to avoid. So, in our
Need to press the button.
continuing series of
You're just
Of,
really trying to, okay.
litigation with our sister district to the north, the most recent case was one where Waste Management Ecovista asked the courts to determine what was the proper way to distribute the, for lack of a better word, tipping fee, let's say, between the districts, and the court ruled, the circuit court ruled that it was the way that we preferred. Benton County appealed that ruling, and the appeal is at the Court of Appeals right now. The appellant, so that'd be Benton County, has briefed it, and now the briefs of Ecovista, and if we file one, us, will be due in a couple more weeks. And that is the status. Anybody have any questions?
Any questions for Tom? All right, thanks, sir.
Okay, the next item is 6.3, and it's just our annual rate increase from cards, and this is built into our contract. So at our last board meeting, we discussed rebidding that, but the cards chose and did not approve the rate increase, the 21% they were asking for. So they chose to continue the contract as it was and waited for this rate increase, which is already established in our contract. So this will go into effect September 1st. So this is just kind of purely for your information.
Okay.
The next item is a certificate of need application from Total Environmental LLC that we received. And the memo is, and the additional information is in 6.4. The purpose of the certificate of need is to operate a solid waste material recovery facility located at 500 West Van Ash Drive in Fayetteville. The site consists of 5 acres of land and a developed 38,000 square foot enclosed metal building. All operations will take place within the metal building, and Total Environmental would receive only non-producible materials, diverting materials from the landfill to be sorted and then repurposed or reused. And any material they receive would come in and mix compactors, whether it's dumpsters, compactors, front-end loaders. This location, if you're familiar with it, it's at Van Ash and Gregg Street, kind of behind the cement kiln. There's that old recycle center. It's previously Mark, and it's been a couple things over the years. But this is that same facility. So this building was built for recycling. So they have done their notification that's required to DEQ, and the district has reviewed the application. It was determined to be complete. We held a 30-day public comment period, and no comments were received. And we also hosted a public hearing on July 14th. And there were some questions received during the hearing, and that is the single page that's included with your packet. And I also emailed this to you previously. But these were the questions that were received, and then the responses that were prepared from their engineer. So I did include the definition of a solid waste recovery facility just because this isn't, I guess, a permit that I've ever presented to the board for a certificate of need application. So I just want to make sure everybody was kind of aware of what we're looking at. So they'll bring in class 4 waste, which is non-producible waste. This is not your household trash. This is old furniture, construction material. What else am I missing, Travis, as far as class 4?
Be like cement.
Yeah,
Concrete.
sheetrock, tile, shingles, kind of all that kind of stuff. And then also your kind of traditional recyclable materials as well. So it comes into the facility, they sort through it, pull out anything that is recyclable, that they're looking for, and then diverts that to be sold for recycling, and then anything else is either reused or disposed of appropriately. We do have the two facility owners. We have Ed Mount and Daryl Prater here. I don't know if you all have any additional comments you'd like to make, or if you have if you all have any questions for them.
Any questions for these gentlemen?
Okay. So procedure for a certificate of need application does include a 10-minute public comment period for anybody in favor or opposing the facility. So I think we should go ahead and open that up to see if
Okay.
anybody does have any comments, and then after that, we'll move forward with.
How does this work? Do we do 10 minutes?
We can see if anybody has any comments.
Okay.
Or not,
All right.
then we can just time
Or
it
we
if
just
do. Yeah.
sit here for 10
We
minutes
sit
if
here,
nobody has
yeah,
a comment?
and stare at each other, so.
Answer emails. All right, would anybody, we'll open up the 10-minute comment period. Anybody want to speak for or against? Or just have questions about this proposed facility? Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. Do I need to tell you who I am?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Kenneth Lovett, 18702 Clearwater Road in Fayetteville. I'm all for anything that does not go to Eco Vista. So, you know, I appreciate the folks looking into this. But my concern is in the overall thought process that seems to be community-wide. One of the gentlemen spoke at the meeting and said, you know, well, the guy that's doing this for us used to be on the board, and I'm sure it's good, you know, so how does that work as far as, does somebody just start working on a project and assume just because they have a friend or a knowledgeable person that it's automatically going to be approved?
I wouldn't say automatically going to be approved. I think they've got to go through a process.
Right,
Yeah.
but how do we get that information out? Where
I'm sorry, what information is it that you're wanting?
the assumption was that they can start and build whatever they wanted to build before they get approval, you know, and that's on them. If they don't get approval, they spend a bunch of money for nothing. But how do we get that across to the public as to there's a process to be done before you can operate?
Right, so.
Who
I'm not really
oversees that process, Robert?
So it's several. One is DEQ. Before they can begin operation, they do have to have a permit issued from DEQ. And that's before they can begin operation. They can come in, they can get the facility ready, bring in equipment, and you know, this is kind of just that investment risk they're taking
Right.
by buying that equipment and getting the site ready. But they can't begin operation or begin accepting material until that permit is issued.
Right.
So this is a certificate of need when they send notification, and Ed, please tell me if I'm wrong, when they send in their notification to DEQ that they do want to apply for this permit, the next step is that they notify the district of their intent. And so then once they do that intent, then they start submitting. And so our checklist and also DEQ's checklist includes, is it 20 to 30 different agencies? So Heritage Commission, Game and Fish, you know, just all the different and various agencies that they have to notify and get approval from or clarification from prior to receiving their permit from DEQ. They also have to submit to whatever municipality or county that they're in. So in this case, it's the city of Fayetteville, and they have notified, and I think those emails they're included with their certificate of need application, showing that they have submitted to the Fayetteville Planning Commission or Planning Department for approval, and that's where they take into account, you know, there'd be a conditional use permit that is needed because the zoning was not, that needs to be updated or changed for the current use or for the intended use of that facility. And that'll take that through that process. And that also has to be approved prior to them beginning any operation.
And anything that's not approved, they just spent their money for nothing unless they can work through a process to get that turned over.
Correct.
Right?
And I guess in my opinion, and I may be wrong or somebody may disagree, but I feel like that's kind of just a risk of private industry or a risk of investment is that, you know, if you choose to purchase that, equipment and get your materials in place rather than waiting till the permit is in place, if it's not approved, you kind of got to hope to recover your cost for what you've invested, but there's also that risk that you won't.
Okay, that was my question, but I'll let somebody else
Yeah,
talk. That's
I'd
the main
say-
thing. Like I said, I'm all for anything that leaves Eco Vista.
I will say this, as I have actually solicited ADQ and actually applied for this same permit. And I will assure you that their vetting process and everything having to be in order and all that is tried and true. And as Robin said, you'll jump through lots of hoops to get to where they're at. I think that preliminarily they probably researched it and figured out that, hey, we've got the qualifications that's going to be required by ADQ to meet this. And yes, it is a little bit of a risk, but I'll assure you that ADQ, whenever they do their due diligence, it is a stringent process. So,
And like I said, in that same note, if they did begin operation beforehand, DEQ does have an enforcement division, and they could come in and either find them or shut them down. And same with Fayetteville.
DEQ is the one that would have
Right.
judgment over that, not Boston Mountain.
No, Boston Mountain's kind of authority is determining if there is a need for it.
Yeah,
In
that's
this
our
region,
role,
yeah.
is certificate of need.
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't get into the nuts and bolts of
Right.
how the facilities run and those types of things.
And
But-
this is the
but you'll-
certificate of
but
need,
I assume that you had, of course, you had as far as how the public is informed and involved, we had the public hearing, or you had the public hearing on July 14th.
Yes, sir.
These are the questions we've got.
Yes.
And then back to Robin's point earlier, you also have the other, if there are zoning questions, if there are city requirements or county requirements, then those are all done in public meetings too. And yeah, you're right, we have people take a risk all the time, with zoning in particular. You know, they may make an investment that
But if
they could be sorry for, yeah.
okay, that's
And
fine.
Well,
yeah.
oftentimes a sale will be contingent on the zoning
true, too.
being approved. I mean, that happens all the time.
Yep,
Okay,
true.
thank you.
Okay, thank you. I didn't start a timer, Robin.
I didn't either. I apologize.
Well,
Matt?
that was a good 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Anybody else? We'll give you plenty of time to make sure. Tom, if there are no other questions, are we safe to move on, or do we need to? Do you know the?
Just say that into the record, there's nobody else either online or present had any other questions.
Okay. Do we have anybody online?
No, I don't believe we do.
Okay. All right. Going once, going twice. Is there anyone else that would like to address this issue before we close the comment period? Okay, seeing none, I think we'll move on, Robin.
Okay, so the staff recommendation for the certificate of need after reviewing the application and the criteria, Boston Mountain staff is recommending approval of certificate of need for this facility. The purpose of this facility is to capture recyclable and reusable material previously destined for landfill disposal. So this is consistent with the regional solid waste management plan goal to reduce waste entering the landfill for final disposal.
Okay. Entertain a motion, if that's.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the certificate of need. Any other comments or questions? Anyone? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. All right, thank you.
All right.
Director's report.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, we did submit our quarterly tire report to DEQ, and there were no inspections found in the first or second quarter of 2022 at our transfer station. Our recycling tonnage is up 4.2% for the same time period compared to last year, and our transfer station is up 3.3%, which is, I'm gonna say, interesting, because the first 5 months of this year, we were down about 10 to 15%. So this last 2 or 3 months have been pretty intense for our guys. The enforcement complaints, I'm gonna say, is not accurate. As you all know, we lost our environmental officer a few weeks ago, and so that just wasn't, we didn't have anything for July recorded as far as new complaints were involved. We're still trying to sort through all of that. Our tire count is up 4.8% for the first 2 quarters of this year versus last year, and we've already kind of discussed the issues that we're seeing with those. We've hosted, or several communities have hosted e-waste events so far this year. And then we've worked with several different programs on cleanup events. We do have the Pick Up Where You Play cleanup event coming again this fall, where we partner with pretty much most municipalities through Washington and Benton County to host a kind of a fall cleanup. So we'll be seeing that, you'll be seeing that coming through soon. One item I wanted to kind of present and discuss and get some input from is the vision statement. And we've been working with the Northwest Arkansas Council and Benton County Solid Waste District just to kind of make a vision for what our goals and where we're going for the district and where this group is, I guess, where we're going. But Dan is here with it from the council. I don't know if you have anything you'd like to add or say about that. We'll put you on the spot.
Yeah, this started actually before I came on. So Rob Smith at the council with Robin and Wendy in Benton County had begun formulating a regional vision, not a binding thing, not a requirement, but just a sort of statement of shared goals, kind of the direction that we all want to go and how that might be achieved. And so I continued that process. A lot of you were there last summer when I held kind of a stakeholder session, a brainstorming session to get everybody's input on what that regional vision should be. And since then, I've been, discussing with all of you and other stakeholders kind of through my work, putting together these, first kind of the mission statement at the top, and then trying to put some years and some actual tangible benchmarks to achieve. And who this most applies to is myself, honestly. This is most binding for me and the council program and what kind of our roadmap of what we're going to be working on. But again, it just sort of states out loud that this is what we all have in common for what we hope to achieve over the next several years and where we can focus our efforts.
Mm-hmm. So I think kind of what our reason and purpose for presenting this to you is if you all wanted to get some input from you all, if there were anything you'd like to see added or changed, and then if you were in agreement to, at the next board meeting, present it as a resolution to support this vision statement for moving forward. So.
And if it's relevant, Benton County's board just earlier this week approved a resolution for it. So this is a regional thing that both districts are mm-hmm. taking a look at.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dan.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate your work. I've been privileged to get to go on one of the trips mm-hmm. with the group Dan leads, and he does a great job on those, and they're very very informative trips. So if you ever get that opportunity, I think it'd be real helpful. Sure was for me. All right.
Okay. And then the next item, I guess, is our public comment period. And then Mr. Levitt did email earlier. Actually, it's last week, but I was out last week, so earlier this week, and asked to be added to the agenda. So I've included the email that he sent.
Right.
And then there was a document that I also sent to you all that he had attached and asked that I send to you. So, Mr.
Okay.
Levitt, if you'd like to go ahead.
All right. Is there any, oh, yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Kenneth Lovett, 18702 Clearwater Road. I don't really know where to start, but everything that I keep chasing down seems to point back to Boston Mountain. You can see the email. So I got an email from Bailey Taylor with ADQ. It says Boston Mountain Regional Solid Waste Management District is the governmental entity primarily responsible for, I can't even talk, excuse me, for providing a solid waste management system for your area. You may want to contact the district concerning the location of solid waste systems. So my concern is right now ADQ is going through level 4, our class 4 permitting, and I don't want that to happen. We got this new place that's coming in supposedly at some time, and I was looking back at Regulation 8, and in 2002, I didn't bring the audit with me, but I think you have it in the email. it states in one spot that the landfill is in an improper location over the karst area. And then I think the ADQ director allowed it. And then the Arkansas State Supreme Court or something permitted it after that. So I was not here during that time, but I know that there's a lot of issues going on out there. EcoVista performed a test, dye test in the level 4, and it went straight to the creek. And there's no way anybody can tell me anything man-made's not going to leak. You know, you can put plastic down, you can put your clay down, you can pack it, and we're still going to have the issues. They've been on a issue for water analysis for years, and it's slowly getting better, but it's still there. And you're not going to get the mud out of the creek till you get the pigs out of it, I think that's how they say it, something like that. But whenever Boston Mountain asked for a certificate of need, was it considered, was there any kind of evaluation in the environmental aspects out in that area? How did the certificate of need come across to say, okay, let's go back and request a certificate of need for where we're at right now?
So a landfill can request up to 30 years of life or permitted facility space each time. The district, I believe, approved, was it 14 years of permitted space for class 4? And as far as the environmental testing, the water quality, the groundwater, the air, all that falls in the purview of DEQ. Mm-hmm. The solid waste districts kind of, like we discussed a little bit earlier, sole responsibility is to determine if there's a need, like a solid waste management need.
Do y'all, I don't mean to interrupt, but do y'all state where that need needs to be as far as the location? Do y'all select the location, or is that just because the waste management is already there?
The district does not select the need.
No, we deal with the request that's brought to us.
How do you, if we have, the legislative audit that calls it out, and then we have the process that come after it. But that landfill was first permitted in '79, and then Waste Management bought it in 2000, and then we went from there. It's been over there over 40 years, and it's steady. The area's getting larger, the landfill's getting larger. How do we move forward now to make a determination of where it's going to be 10 years from now? Right now, I don't want class 4 to be there. I'm going to do everything I can to be at every meeting with ADQ to make that not happen. But I don't have no authority. I can just tell you what I'm thinking. Right. How do we make a move now, or can you make a move? Can Boston Mountain make a move to get that out of there? It needs to be away from people, and that area needs to be cleaned up. Only way it's going to get cleaned up is to run its course. Mm-hmm. And if you keep piling on, we start getting more and more and more. You look out there now, Tawnytown's nothing, look at Centerton. No more fields, it's all housetops. Mm-hmm. We got to do something. We got to do it quick, or it's just getting worse.
I don't know that we've got any,
Yeah. I don't know if we have the so I
don't think, you're talking about growth too.
Yeah.
And and growth is growth, and it happens, and
yeah.
But they don't mix. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
it's just worse.
So I guess, and I don't know, and this board may not agree, or you may want me to take different action. So I've been thinking about this and trying to figure out, because I feel like yourself and then other individuals, that there's a lot of questions, and I think just kind of dealing with the different agencies, you're not always sure which one does what stuff like that. So I guess my thought or recommendation is before the next board meeting, I'll send an email to our board members and ask kind of what your questions and concerns you would like me to get clarification on. Okay. And then also get a clear kind of, maybe like almost like a roadmap or flow chart showing who does what. I don't
want to waste your time.
Right. That would be real helpful.
No, but I think it would be good. Not only for yourself, but for other individuals, because you're coming to us with a water quality issue, and while yes, we are concerned about that, and we have to be aware and conscientious of it, we don't have the authority. And I'm not a engineer, a hydraulics engineer or an air engineer, so I don't have that, skill set or knowledge to analyze those reports or make those recommendations, but DEQ does. But I think to the lay individual, people don't always know which agency is kind of what their wheelhouse is. So I think if it works for y'all, I can
That
work on
that would help, I know that would help me a lot.
Okay.
I have a
And I
question.
understand your frustration. I mean, at the end of the day, whether two people agree on something or not, you ought to be able to know where to go to get the answer. So, I'm sorry, Angie, go ahead.
I have a question. So I think what Mr. Lovett and myself would like to know is, what is the proper step to get the process started to find a different location for a landfill?
And that's this email, that I got, y'all got it in your packet. And that audit too, if you read through it, it's from 2002. It's been through the legal process, but it still stands. If we still have the same problems we had 20 years ago, it's gotten worse.
I have to interject in the fact that I've done this for 27 years, and well, actually 28 years now. And I absolutely, as Mayor Sprouse said, we absolutely understand the concern. I get it. I understand exactly where you're both coming from. But the flip side of this is you're asking a question that we really can't answer, in the fact of what's the steps that we take as Boston Mountain Solid Waste District in finding a new location for a landfill. That's not something that we're going to undertake, I don't think, in any time in the near future, to own a landfill. A lot of times in 1979, whenever it was Sunray Services, and then switched over in 2000 to Waste Management, it was a private business, or basically a publicly traded business in Waste Management's case, that actually bought the landfill in 2000. So your history's great. Before that, it was a couple individuals that actually lived out in the Tawnytown area that actually owned the landfill. So in order to answer that question, I don't think that there's an answer that we can give as a board of directors here in to say where the next best location is, number one. Number two, it costs tens of millions of dollars to open a landfill currently. With the regulations that we're hamstringed with through ADEQ and through the EPA. And I don't think that it's a question that we are prepared as a board to answer for you as to where it's going to go or what's going to happen, because that's not our undertaking. Taking what you had wrote, and I read the email yesterday, and actually called Robin on her way back because we are concerned. We want to listen to your complaint or your concerns about where the landfill is. This was talked about between her and I don't care to share that conversation. It's a personal conversation, but at the same time, you have to understand what our board is formulated for. And that is the governing body to make sure that the haulers that are hauling to that landfill are permitted, to make sure that they're licensed and worthy and well qualified to haul to that landfill. In this deal, and no offense to the gentleman in the back, but in this letter that's email here, where it says basically the DEQ refers you back to Boston Mountain Solid Waste District. We have no governing authority as far as coming in and inspecting the landfill. That is DEQ's responsibility, not ours. And I think that a lot of times these things get meshed, and for that I apologize, because believe you me, somebody that deals with DEQ on a daily basis, it is hard sometimes. And a lot of times you get someone to send you an email that basically says, well, I'm not really going to answer your question. Go back and talk to Robin. Mm-hmm. So I hope that you understand where I'm coming from. We hope and pray, because of the growth that's in our area now, that we always have a legally sanctioned landfill that we can haul to. Is it the Tawnytown area? It may not be. I would implore George Wheatley, he's sitting right here, I would implore him to ask him, what are Waste Management's plans, 5, 10, 15 years down the road? What are we going to do? Because what's going to happen is if we don't have this facility, it will exponentially increase the cost of every city, every county, every individual within our Northwest Arkansas area, Madison and Washington County especially. So to answer your question as to where this landfill is going to be, we can hope as a board that it's going to be somewhere that's, that's logistically pleasing to all of us. But at the same time, we can't, because that's not our job. We're not going to go into the landfill business. So I say all that just to give myself peace of mind, knowing what my job is here, and what we do in this industry. Do we want to hear your complaint? Absolutely. And I'm telling you, everybody here is here to help guide you to the right place. The flip side of it is we're not the governing authority over air, water, all that.
And that's the frustrating part, because like you say, everybody's doing this, Everybody points at the next person. So that's, I know what George Wheatley wants to do, or Waste Management. They're going to fill every hole they can stick it in until they fill every piece of land out there, until somebody tells them they can't. And that's what I'm shooting for. It don't need to be there. I understand they bought it. I understand it was there. I understand why it was there. I understand it's financially feasible for them. The rest of it, I'd carry my trash down to South Arkansas or Oklahoma by myself if I needed to, to keep from having to deal with not being able to put no well in because the water stinks. Going by, driving down the road and about choked to death. It's not trash smell. It's something else. They did go out there and sample the air for me on a beautiful, hot, 104-degree day where nothing's going to come down on the ground. It's all vaporizing and leaving. So until that smell gets there and we get it tested, they have nobody to come test it. They have no equipment to test it. So what do you do then?
I appreciate Travis's comments. I think if before the next board meeting, Robin can gather any information you can, just to help guide not only the board but the residents in what, because you don't like this, and,
Right.
and I agree with Travis. That's what that looks like to me, and so nobody likes to get thrown under the bus either.
Right.
And so I want to know if there is more we should be doing. I don't know what it would be, but we need to know that.
Yes.
And
as far as a certificate of need, just Waste Management come to you and say, we need a bigger hole. Is that what it was? Or how does that come about? How does the...
Well, it's more formal than that.
Well,
but
you know what I mean.
It comes to us in the form of a request, and,
Yes, sir.
and but it's been vetted through other processes. It's been to public meetings, just like the one we approved today.
Yes. Yeah, and if you look actually back at the memo for that other certificate of need, the pages that follow that show the district regulations related to the determination of a certificate of need. So there's a list of 5 criteria for what the board is tasked with considering when they approve or deny a certificate of need. So if it falls within that criteria or does not, then that's how they approve or deny. Those are kind of the 5 questions that they're being asked to determine.
I appreciate y'all's time, and I look forward to
Yes.
hearing how that comes out.
Okay.
So,
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank y'all.
Do we have any other public comment? Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. I'm Mark Calcagni. I live at 12642 Arbor Acres Road, Springdale, Tiny Town, and appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. And I know you've heard from me before, but since you are part of the process, on a certificate of need for expansion, I wanted to visit with you today about this, and hopefully you hear me out here. And I know I sound like a broken record, but the growth of the area around Tiny Town, Springdale, the way around waste management has exploded. I mean, hopefully, how many of you have driven from 412 towards waste management? Anybody has? Have you seen some of the houses there? 600 to 700 homes are being built there. And, it's getting populated. It's not as rural as it used to be. It was a rural area at one time, but I mean, we now have a Springdale school there within a mile of the landfill as the crow flies. So that's kind of scary, because you think about the landfill traffic that's out there with residential traffic and with school traffic along with buses out there. So that's kind of scary as well. So being part of the process, which you are part of the process because you're one of the first steps on a certificate of need. So that's something hopefully you've thought about. And I know maybe you hadn't thought about the school and the traffic out there, but it's gotten busy. So if you drove, from 412, you'll see the growth. I have visited other landfills. As a matter of fact, Kenneth and I, we visited Little Rock's landfills, 2 of them, and we also visited Fort Smith. You see little or no homes around them. I mean, they put their landfill, and I know you just stated that you don't, decide the location, but you are part of the process, and hopefully, you care. Something that you might want to think about is, we've had some people that have come up with cancer, contracted cancer, and have died of cancer. And there's been studies done in journals, medical journals, that say living near a landfill could cause cancer, has caused cancer, and there's health-related reasons. So hopefully you're concerned about that. And hopefully you're concerned about this, what I'm just going to say here. As a matter of fact, the health department is doing a cancer study, a cluster study in the area. You shouldn't be concerned because maybe there's some legal ramifications for this group, but hopefully you're concerned with the citizens' health and safety of that area. So, in closing, I didn't want to speak a whole lot because you've heard from me before, but, hopefully this board, will do something to help, because that area is really growing and it's becoming populated, and really there shouldn't be a landfill there. Thank you.
Hey, Mark, I got a question for you, and I'm asking this because I don't know. I've actually, my son and daughter-in-law and their family are living in one of those, what did you say, 600 houses?
Yeah, 600. How many, the mayor's here. Mayor, how many houses are planned? And they're all on that south side of 412. Is it 600 to 700 houses?
Off of Clink there is where
We have several different subdivisions, and as soon as they go in, there's going to be hundreds of additional houses.
The reason I ask is because they're choosing to build there, and that's a complication. I don't dispute any of your concerns about, because I'm in no position to dispute that. I'm not you've looked at the research, you've looked at so I take that at what you found, but I don't know, and I'm not suggesting the city of Tawnytown shouldn't let them build there. I'm not, that's not what I'm suggesting at all, but that's happened. I don't know if the one that you all visited in Little Rock, if it has no homes around it, there may be other reasons there's no homes around it. The Eco Vista is it is the growth. It is, and you're right. There are homes being planned, and I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's happening. But I don't know who is really responsible for
it. Do we had 1,200 to 1,300 signatures on a petition to not allow it to expand. And when I was going around, I helped collect some of those petitions. When I was going around, a lot of people said that when they bought their homes, they had no idea that there was a landfill there. Their realtor didn't disclose that information. So when you say, some people don't even know, they don't get any further, south or north or east or west to see that there's a landfill until they start living there and smelling it. And, that's the one thing that's concerning, that air. And when Kenneth was talking about, gases, that's something to think about. So I know, this right here, we see it all the time and kind of hearing it a little bit today, with this group, but I don't know what else to say. We come to these meetings to learn, so I've kind of learned what you're responsible for today. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
I did want to say to you, in the landfills in Little Rock, they are established in what is zoned industrialized areas, okay? And I'm privy to actually one of those landfills and have worked with them in the past. And those are zoned, to kind of piggyback on what the mayor said, it's not up to us to decide what your zoning regulations are in Tawnytown. And I was having this conversation with Robin yesterday on our way back from Little Rock, and I said, Robin, I can remember in 1995 driving a big truck over to the landfill, and it took us about 35 minutes to go from the south end of Fayetteville over to the landfill on the back roads. And I remember driving up there where Clink Road is. and bypassing that, there was nothing there but a grape orchard at the time. I remember whenever we turned into the landfill and we'd drive all the way to the back of the landfill, it would take us about 10 minutes to get from the front gate all the way back to where the dumping face was on the landfill. With that said, and it is, and completely understand your concerns, and I can absolutely empathize and sympathize with where you're at. But it is shocking to me, and I'll shut up after this, but it is absolutely shocking to me to drive and to be doing this since '95 and seeing the houses as close as they've been allowed to be built to the landfill. Just
Well,
to
let
be
me
quite
make
honest.
a statement on that one.
Yeah.
Because I've lived there for 32 years, and my front door, from my front door to the landfill property, is 380 feet on one side and 8 feet on the other side. I'm that close to the landfill.
I've lived there 35 years, so I've seen it, like when you were saying, when there was a grape vineyard there that was really pretty, driving through there and seeing grapes, there, but they're no longer there anymore. They're homes there, so.
And
I
my
just-
husband's been there 60 years.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
We'll
Sorry
at
for
least
so long.
we'll at least try and help y'all get some definition on the process. Okay. Thank you, Robin, for offering to do that.
Thank you.
Do we have any other public comment? Yes, sir. George, is your mic on? I think there you go.
Now I go.
Yeah.
Okay. George Wheatley. Been in the solid waste business for about the same time as Travis, close to 27 years. I came up here when my daughter was a student at the University of Arkansas. Waste Management had no business in Northwest Arkansas at all. But in 1998, they merged with a company called USA Waste. USA Waste, I'm not saying they started the landfill, but they owned the landfill at that time. Once the merger took place and the merged companies were now called Waste Management, we then owned the landfill. It's the only double-lined landfill in the state of Arkansas. It was not required to be a double-line landfill, but the companies, whether it was USA Waste and or Waste Management, chose to spend the extra money to make it a double-lined landfill to be more cautious and more safety conscious. I agree with Mr. Calcagney about traffic, and this goes back before there was a school. It goes back actually 20 years ago. The closest I've ever come to getting killed was pulling out on Arbor Acres Avenue and a resident coming down through there. I wish I had a radar gun. It had to have been 70 plus miles per hour. So yeah, that happens. It's been happening for a long, long time. We came to this board and made a request for a certificate of need. That's what the procedure calls for. We did that exactly like they asked us to do. A public hearing was then set at let me think where we were. Was it Prairie Grove? Yeah, Prairie Grove City Hall. That's where the public hearing was. Mayor Sprouse gave the opponents 10 minutes and gave those for the landfill 10 minutes. The opposition took a full 10 minutes. The proponents took considerably less. It was approved by a vote of 9-1, one being absent. There were 11 members at that time. Again, everything exactly like it was supposed to have been done. It was totally publicized. And for someone to want to build a home there now and not realize there's a landfill, I wish I could think that way. It's what we're trying to do. The city of Tawnytown wanted to rezone us. We were zoned a mobile home park. I was told, and I don't know if this is official, but I was told that we were originally zoned a mobile home park because when the city of Tawnytown put in planning and zoning, they had to have a mobile home park designation. That was required by law. They didn't want any mobile homes in their city, so they decided to classify our landfill a mobile home park. Then, within the last couple of years, they asked us to have that rezoned, exclusive landfill. We went through all of the procedures that were set out by the city of Tawnytown, and it was, in fact, rezoned. They then implemented the large-scale development program inside the city of Tawnytown. Being a former mayor, I have no issue with that. But with that came a long list of requirements. Some were to be done immediately. Some were to be done by the end of 2021. Some were to be done by about the end of the first quarter of 2022. And then some are to be done once the expansion is approved. We are on schedule, actually ahead of schedule with every one of those requirements of the large-scale development. Many of those were done ahead of schedule by the end of 2021 when they weren't required to be done until the end of the first quarter of 2022. I've said it over and over again, and I'll say it one more time, mainly for the record. We look at the infrastructure of Northwest Arkansas. We all look at the infrastructure of Northwest Arkansas. Are we building enough roads? Are we building enough schools? Are we building enough water lines, sewer lines, power lines, gas lines to handle the growth that is taking place in this region? Are we building enough of a landfill to handle the growth that is happening in this region? And the answer is we're trying. That's why we asked for an expansion. When we first asked for an expansion, people thought we were going to go out and buy acreage. We have 611 acres of property out there. The landfill takes up less than 175 of those acres. The expansion that we're talking about right now for Class 4 and for Class 1, Class 4 being construction and demolition material, Class 1 being garbage, is within the original footprint. It is taking the Class 1 two landfills and filling in the void that is the valley between them. Normally, we build wide and come up to a peak. We've done that here. We've done that here. Now we're doing it inversely, turning the triangle upside down. That's what has been approved in the certificate of need, and that's what's before ADEQ at this moment in time. We are doing everything we can to meet all of the requirements by the city of Tawnytown, by this board, and by ADEQ. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Joe.
I have one question, if I may.
Sure.
So, Mr. Wheatley, you said that the landfill is all double line,
Yes.
even the first part? Even the first hill?
I don't know about the first hill.
It's not
Okay.
at all.
Okay. And there was an allegation that was made by a former manager in our company after he was no longer with our company that there was a leak in that landfill, and that allegation was proved to be untrue.
from what I understand, the first hill is not lined. The second hill is double lined. So the one that's going on top in the middle is going to leak in the one that's not lined.
It
That
will
was
be
from what
double
I-
lined up the side of that landfill, so yes, it will be double lined. State won't let us do it without doing that way.
Okay. Other questions? Anyone? Okay, thank you, George.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to
I just,
speak during public comment?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Robin.
no, I just have a couple comments kind of just to tie up a few things
Okay.
at the end. I will be sending you all probably a doodle survey in the next month or so, just to look at if there's a day or time that's better for everybody. I know a couple people have conflicting meetings at the same time on this particular Thursday each quarter, and we don't really have a preference on when we meet as long as we're able to meet every quarter. So I'd like to do what's best. So I'll send out some dates and times. I may get with regional planning to see if there's a meeting that. Is it? Okay. But I thought I might get with regional planning and see if there's a meeting where Madison and Washington County meet already that's existing, to see if maybe we could meet following that and just hold it at regional planning or something like that. So that way, since you're there, rather than doubling up 2 different days, we could do everything in one day. And Everett's been discussing this with us. We are talking to Carroll County about their tire program to see if it would be economically beneficial to us and to them to start transporting their tires as well. So, and if we do start looking at that, we'll bring any of those contract recommendations or price recommendations to the tire committee and then to the board for approval before we move forward with anything. And then we will also be reaching out to the budget committee members to schedule that annual budget meeting in October. Other than that, our next board meeting is scheduled for Thursday, November 10th at 1:30.
All right. If there's no other business before the board, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn, and I failed to welcome Mayor Russell. Congratulations and welcome to the
Thank
board.
you. I appreciate it.
And that said, all those in favor, say aye.